G'day. Welcome back to the Nexus project, where I am aiming to consume all the resource nodes in the entire world. Alright, so for this video, I am going to be turning all the iron ingots I made in the last video, which is 25,000, into modular frames. And as you can see, I've already done quite a bit of work. I haven't done the final assemblers yet. I'm going to plan a bit of that out and do that in this area. But what we'll do is we'll just go through what I've done so far. But before I do that, thanks to the guys that told me how to turn off the floating presence, because damn, that's annoying. You can do it in the options, but you actually can't do it from these options. It's just not there. You actually have to be back at the title screen to be able to get to it. Anyway. And the other thing, somebody told me, because I used to use Permaday mod to keep it daylight, but there's a way better one, which people have told me about, which is Sky UI, which I'm using now. So Control L brings it up, and look at this, how awesome this is. So easy to use. I can just fast forward time, pause time. I can drag this to whatever I prefer, whatever I want the time to look like. And it's bloody brilliant. The UI of this is just so much better than typing it in manually. Anyway, that's that. Again, for those that haven't seen or heard, I probably say it every video, what I'm doing in this world is technically achievable in vanilla. I haven't added anything to the game, just quality of life mods to help me build quicker. Alright, so 18 times 720 coming in here. They were initially getting melted in their sinks. Somebody actually asked, why the hell are you just putting them in sinks? There's actually a reason for it. I'm actually stress testing the system to troubleshoot this whole system here. So now I've brought them up to the next floor to do rods, plates, wire, and then reinforced iron plates, and then modular frames. I did put a little overflow section here into here, which is currently turned off at the moment. I can turn that back on, but really I wasted a bit of time doing this. It looks alright, but I should have just deleted it, really. I deleted it at the other end, but it is what it is. I'll just turn that off just for the sake of it. Alright, let's get into what I've done. So I brought these up here, and these are all making iron plates. Alright. These blueprints helped me get this down a lot simpler. All these lines are 720 lines, and each one of these produces, I've forgotten, a lot. But I've got it written down. I've also used signs to help me in certain places, like here. So obviously I need a absolute butt ton of iron plates. There's 280 coming out of this last one. And here's where I've annotated what I've got. So 8 lines of 720 after all the load balancing and whatnot down there. Plus this 760 line. And that's 6,520 iron plates. Alright, so that's that guy there. I'll make an effort to actually share this save file, this video, so you can go around and inspect it, or if you want, I'll have a look, whatever. Alright, so the next thing I did was the wire, because what I'm doing is I'm using the stitched iron plate recipe. It's reasonably efficient. It's better than some of them anyway. That's the one I chose to use. So I'm using iron. I'm using iron wire. I've said before, I want to try save all my actual copper for copper powder and copper sheets, because you can't make copper sheets out of iron, but you can make wire out of iron. Okay, so each one of these, it does 675 wire per minute out of here. So this is a blueprint here. If I just, what do I do? If I just put this to delete mode, you'll see that that's a blueprint, and I've stacked the blueprints on top of each other. So there's 20 blueprints here of wire, iron wire. And each blueprint spits out 625 into these rows, which is what a row of 9 takes to make these reinforced iron plates. So that's our wire. And obviously the iron plates go in there as well. I had to do a little bit of load balancing with these to make it all work, but it works. Alright, so down towards the end, it always works out when you're laying down multiple numbers of blueprints that one of them will end up being slightly less. So all of these, you'll notice there's 3 shards in each one. Again, this is to keep the item count down, except this one, because this one's only producing 225 wire. So that's what I've done. Rightio. Same again for this. These are blueprints of 3, which made things a lot easier to lay out. I only have to connect really the blueprints to each other, and then the load balancing for the inputs and the outputs. It is actually a massive time saver. And then one blueprint here, which is kind of dialed down a bit just to make the numbers work. All right, so that's that. That's using a hell of a lot of the iron ingots. So as you can see, a lot of the iron ingots go into the rods. I mean the plates. A hell of a lot go into the wire. And from this end, I had a hell of a lot of iron coming out of these ones, and up there goes a whole bunch. A bit of load balancing required for the inputs, and that's where we're at. I've got a few signs around just for personal reminders. Alright, so let's just go over here and we'll check the outputs for the reinforced iron plates. And we ended up with this many. It's 1957.5 or something. 1950 is what I'm going to use. I was just stress testing the system with these, so these are only temporary. I could plug them in again, but you know, much of a muchness. I'm just going to delete these soon. And over the back there, we'll go over and have a look. I used the remaining iron on these to make the rods. And we'll go over that. So I have the rods coming up through here, and I'll go over the belt work I did because I think the belt work's actually pretty good. Rightio, so 11 lines of 675 rods, and then because of the way the numbers work, I have an odd belt here, which does 605. Alright, so if you want to know what recipe I'm doing the, we here just the standard modular frame recipe, because it's 3-to-1, oh sorry, it's 3-to-2 reinforced iron plates to modular frames. We have the bolted frame here, that's also 3-to-2, but it uses screws. I don't want to be messing around with screws, not for this particular build anyway. But the other option we have here is a steel frame, and I don't want to be wasting steel on modular frames if I don't have to. So that's why I've just stuck with the original recipe. Okay. Oops. Delete that. Let's, we'll follow the belts down actually. A lot of the process is deciding where I'm going to run all these belts. So I ran them down here. Over the refineries. Put a bit of finishing touch on it so it doesn't look just so walls are hanging in the middle. I thought it came out pretty good. I actually made it so it doesn't hit these chimney stacks here. No clipping as per standard procedure for me. I can't handle clipping. If that was going through there, I ain't having it. Alright, so there's my belts there. They come down here. I was going to cover this up. But I put the open walls on it. I was going to use glass, but you know, whatever. It looks alright, I reckon. It looks okay. And everything's neat, everything's 90 degrees, no clipping. Alright, so I've got 12 belts of rods. a shitload of rods. And the good thing about that is it used up this blank area that I had a bit of a blank area of concrete here, so it filled that in nicely. All right, they come from over here. You can see more iron. Obviously, everything's stopped because it's finished. All the machines are backed up. And again, these are blueprints. So we'll just put it in blueprint mode. No, there we go. And you can see that these are blueprints. Very, very handy, the blueprints. Insanely good. And again, I won't go through exactly the load balancing, but there's 20 blueprints here. Because of the way the numbers work out. The last one here is slightly different, but I've put the numbers coming out. It's a 605 line. They go all the way down there, all the way along there, and up to where we just were. That's where I'm at so far. I now need to lay out 650 assemblers. Well, I am kind of lying because I'm going to have 3 shards in each one, hopefully. 650 divided by 2.5 equals 260. Right, so 260 assemblers along here. And I'm going to feed them all of these rods, and I'm going to feed them all of these reinforced iron plates. And then we are going to end up with 1,300 modular frames. And then I'm going to go through a little bit of number planning and things, and what I'm going to do with this world, what I'm going to do with all those modular frames, because I do have plans. Right, so I'm going to go and get that done then. Well, it's finished. 650 modular frames per minute. The final bit that I did was all of these assemblers. There's roughly 260 here. And bearing in mind, they are all triple sharded. So if you were to lay this out without shards, imagine something roughly 2.5 times as big. So this is the entire factory so far. And it's all done by iron. Pretty funny, isn't it, really? Like, all of these machines, pretty much all of them have at least 2 shards, most of them 3 shards in them. And at the end of the day, we get these 2 belts here. 2 belts of 650 modular frames. As you can see, they're all running at the moment, all white. White is when there's a shard in it, green is when there's no shard in it. And I'm just stress testing the system at the moment. Why, you may ask, why have I put them on these belts, these 270 belts? Well, because when they're on the 780 belts, you can barely see them. They're just a blur. And turns out I had a little bit of space here. And it's only temporary. So that's it. That's it for this factory so far, for the modular frames anyway. What I do want to go through is a few things, just let you guys know kind of what my plans are, and talk a little bit about the lag and how I'm going to address the lag. As you can see, it's actually not too laggy at the moment, but really we're nearly finished in the desert. Well, when I say nearly finished, I mean we've nearly used all the resource nodes in the desert. It's not that laggy, but I know from previous experience, when the game size, the save file gets to a certain size, you're going to start encountering problems. So here is the Satisfactory calculator map with no map loaded onto it, no save file loaded onto it, and all of the resource nodes are checked, highlighted, except for obviously uranium and SAM ore, because we ain't dealing with that. I've already used all the uranium. So this is what it looks like, all these nodes in the desert. Now if we go to my overlay, my save file, you can see once you put a miner on a node, they don't show up like that anymore. So all we've got is this one pure sulfur node here, and I am kind of hiding the fact that I haven't clicked the limestone. So we'll click the limestone. Sometimes it takes a bit of time when I've got this map loaded in. All right, that took longer than I thought. Anyway, here's the limestone nodes in the desert. Forgot how many there are. There's a few, as you can see. So I need to, technically, to use all the resources, grab all of this limestone and turn it into concrete. Now, I've been dreading doing that because it's going to make so much concrete. So let's talk about what I'm going to do in the desert real quick here. Just the limestone left, and this sulfur is going to be used for something else later down the track. All right, so I do have all of these pipes, which are getting currently just synced. All right, 2 of these 456 lines are getting used to make stators and then automated wiring. And I do have all of these steel beams. Okay, so the plan for the pipes is to turn them into encased industrial beams and then into heavy modular frames, which is going to go with the concrete I just talked about and the modular frames over here that I just talked about. So we're doing heavy modular frames. It works out that really with the amount of resources I've got left in the desert, I can make 38 heavy modular frames. Then with the beams here, I'm going to make an alternate recipe, the flexible framework. So this is a space elevator part. I'm going to use some modular frames, the steel beams, and some rubber. And the rubber is going to be used over here. It's just outside the desert region. Where are we? These oil just here. So here's my desert map, and there's some oil nodes here. I'm going to make some rubber out of that. And I'm going to bring over those steel beams and modular frames and make a versatile framework. There is also, in the copper area, these 2 450 lines of copper I haven't used yet. I'm going to turn them into copper sheets and take them over to this area. There's the lag. Probably because I'm recording and I've got a bunch of things running in the background as well, but anyway. And I'm going to make AI limiters. So AI limiters, they actually only have one recipe. There's only one way to make them so far, and it's copper sheets and quick wire. And then that's it for the desert. I'll bring everything and bring it near to the train station pickup, and I'll just organize it in a pickup area here. And it'll just sit there for the time being because I'm still working out exactly how many end game products I'm going to make. But I have got a rough idea. So here's another quick look. 75 automated wiring there, which is a space elevator part. 225 stators, and we also have 51.66 crystal oscillators. All right, so let's talk about resources and what our limiting factors are. So it used to be in the game that our limiting factors was, I'm talking like update 3. It used to be limited by how much oil was on the map. Now we are limited by nitrogen and sulfur. Depending on your goal, obviously, depending on your goal. But I'm going to make as many thermal propulsion rockets, nuclear pasta, magnetic field generators, and assembly director systems. So our magnetic field generators are limited by sulfur because of the batteries. And our assembly director systems are also going to be limited by the amount of sulfur in the map due to supercomputers requiring batteries in the way that I am going to build them, which is this superstate computer. And our nuclear pasta and thermal propulsion rockets are limited by nitrogen. So I'm going to make roughly 50 thermal propulsion rockets with the nitrogen we have and use the remaining nitrogen to make as many nuclear pasta as possible. And when it comes to the sulfur, I'm going to make as many batteries as I possibly can, and then split the batteries between supercomputers and obviously our assembly director systems, and that's it. So our limiting factor is sulfur and nitrogen. The reason I went through all that is to say that concrete is definitely not going to be a limiting factor in this game. Now I am going to use all the nodes in the map, hopefully, if the computer can handle it, if I can manage the lag. It's going to end up being that I'm just going to be making concrete factories and literally shredding the concrete. All right, so quickly talk about concrete. I'm going to use the wet concrete because we just add water to get more concrete. I'm not going to use rubber to make concrete, and I'm not going to use silica to make concrete. I don't know why you'd want to use quartz to make concrete, but whatever. It's good that you have these options in the game. There will be a bit of limestone used for fine, cheap silica. But yeah, there's going to be that many concrete nodes or limestone nodes on the map that concrete is not going to be a problem. All right, so addressing the lag. One of the things I realized you can actually do in the game, in the Satisfactory calculator map, is, let me just check these away. All right. So if I highlight, I wanted to see if I could, let's just take this section of the map, just a random section of the map here. Damn, it's running slow. Okay, so I've highlighted that, and I wanted to see, because I knew you could delete stuff, I wanted to see if I could just delete, for example, conveyor poles, because we want to keep the item limit down. So conveyor poles, here, conveyor poles. So in that section of the map, I've highlighted 448 conveyor poles, but you can't just select to delete just the conveyor poles. And with the options here, there's no like option to select a certain type of item. But I did work it out. A lot of you probably already know how to do this, but I only worked it out recently. So hopefully this might help someone. What you actually have to do is, we'll cancel that. You come over to here and you unselect everything. So I'm unselecting, I'll start with trains, tracks, drones. It's taking a little bit, so I'll just skip ahead. Alrighty, so now you can see I have unselected everything except for belts. Now in the belts subcategory, there's splitters, mergers, and a bunch of other things. You can, now I can't unselect this whole thing. I have to go down and unselect each individual one. Conveyor lifts, conveyor belts. Now I'm going to leave on all my ceiling mounts, wall mounts, conveyor stackable poles, and conveyor poles, of which there's roughly 5,500. Now I don't want to delete these mergers and things because they're definitely necessary. So conveyor poles are just, at the end of the day, they're an aesthetic. They don't actually function to transport the goods. So in order to keep the item limit down, I've decided I'm going to delete all the conveyor poles from the map. So now you can see that the only thing left is conveyor poles. These dots around the map. So I'll just zoom in a touch. And again. All right. So now if I highlight, let's just grab this area just as a demonstration. I've now highlighted 841 conveyor poles and a bunch of ceiling mounts and stackable conveyor poles. Now for this build, I want to keep it neat and all that, and I want to have stuff not floating in the air like buildings and things. But for me, I've decided I'm happy to not have any conveyor poles, and it will still look functional and nice. So delete selected items, submit. Do I want a doggy bag? No. And boom, they're all gone. Now to get this map, for those that don't know, you just come over here, you hit download save game, and then you'll get a save game in your file with a calculator written at the end of it. So that's what I'm going to do to all my finished areas. I'm going to start deleting all the conveyor poles in a hope to keep the in-game item limit down, and maybe even keep the FPS lag down a bit. It's only a small thing, but it's one of the small things I'm going to be doing to manage the lag. Another thing that I'm doing is actually spreading out my factories across the whole world, because we've learned that if you bring everything to one central location, that can really strain the system. So that'll do. Hopefully this video didn't go too long. I did a little poll. What's your preferred duration for a video? You can see here, I only got 51 votes so far. But most people 10 to 20 minutes, 37%. Surprisingly though, 30% of people don't mind a 30-minute plus video. But I'm going to try to keep them to 20 or so minutes, 10 to 20 minutes. All right, that will do for this one. The next one, I'm going to hopefully actually have every single thing in the desert completely done. And then we can actually move out of this biome into a different biome. So catch you later.